what is the difference between saturated and unsaturated fats? Saturated fats are basically the most chemically stable. They are the hardest to get damaged, or what we call oxidized, within the bodies. And the monounsaturated and the polyunsaturated fats are easier to become damaged. And it seems that this damaging of these fats, the oxidizing of the fats, is part of the process, maybe the primary event in what ultimately leads to heart disease. There is a misconception that saturated fats in the diet are associated with a higher risk of heart disease. All of the studies that have associated saturated fat intake, dietary saturated fat intake, with possibly negative outcomes were associational studies. They were epidemiologic studies that can't prove a relationship between saturated fat and the development of heart disease. Interventional studies that have been done, those studies have actually not shown a positive impact on heart disease. So specifically, there was one study done called the Minnesota Heart Experiment. And they basically took two groups of patients and changed their diet. Their diet was very tightly controlled. And when they decreased the amount of saturated fat in their diet and instead put in more polyunsaturated fats, their risk of heart disease didn't change. But the group that had more polyunsaturated fat and less saturated fat actually had a higher all-cause mortality during the study. The connection between dietary saturated fat, the amount of saturated fat we eat in our diet, and outcomes specifically related to heart disease or related to all-cause mortality are not as clear as we've been led to believe.